All right, and at first glance, we have your electrical sub panel, your chlorinator computer, your electrical J-box, your pump out pipe, pump, filter, chlorinator. And we're going to start over here with the electrical J-box, or your sub panel, I'm sorry. Our main breaker was going into the garage. So you have a breaker that's in the garage that is feeding our sub panel. All right. Then from there, each piece of equipment has its own breaker. Your filter pump and your lights. Now please be aware, this GFI is for your filter pump. If your pump is ever not running, make sure you check your GFI first, because if this simply trips that breaker and warranty has to come out and just flip your breaker on, they're charging you for a service call. So this GFI is just like the GFI in your bathroom and in your kitchen. If the power goes off, it's going to trip the breaker. If you leave this open in the rain, it's going to trip this breaker. So always make sure to test your GFI before you call warranty. Now, time clock. This time clock is for the chlorinator and the chlorinator only. The pump itself has a time clock on the pump, and we're going to get into that once we go over here. Now, if you ever do change the run time, which I had it running 9 to 5, and as you see, we have the chlorinator running 9 to 5. If you ever change the run time on the pump, you want to change it here as well. We do not want the chlorinator on if the pool is off. All right. Now you're going to simply unscrew this and move it wherever you want. Same with the off. Now the time of day, whatever time it is where this needle is pointing. To change the time of day, you're going to pull the whole dial towards you and it'll allow you to put it. And we're right at 9 o'clock. Now, your pump will hold the time and the day for up to 3 days without power. This will not hold the time for 1 minute without power. So if you ever lose power, this is going to stop exactly where you lose it. So if you ever lose power, make sure you change this back to the correct time. Because if this isn't on while the pool's on, you're not producing chlorine, keeping the pool blue. All right. And then here's your light switch, on, off, which it appears you have the remote for it as well.
Yeah.
All right. And we're going to see the chlorinator. We're going to come back to that. Electrical J-box. The light in the pool is pre-wired from the manufacturer, so there's no electrical connection being made in the pool itself. This is where we're feeding the light power to the pool. The reason why it's obnoxiously high is because it has to be at least 12 inches higher than the highest point of water. So if there ever is a leak in the light, yes, water is going to come into this pipe, but it's never going to make to the electrical connection because it's 12 inches higher. It's just going to level out with the pool. Pump out pipe. Here in Florida, we have a water table. The water in the pool is what's keeping the pool in the ground. Never drain the pool completely because it can literally pop out of the ground and never settle back down. All right. So with that being said, if us professionals ever drain this pool completely, we're going to take a separate pump and hook it up to this pipe, which this pipe goes underneath to the pool into that groundwater. We're going to suck that groundwater and send it to the road instead of popping the pool out. Now, each main drain also has a plug in it. We're going to pull those plugs, allowing that same groundwater to come into the pool and not pop the pool out. So bottom line, never drain the pool completely. It can literally pop out of the ground. All right, now, chlorinator. You see two numbers, 80% and 3,500 parts per million. The 80%, you can turn it up or down. When you do, you got to hit OK to save it. Now, this 80% is how much chlorine we're telling it to make. And we're doing it through percentage of its runtime. So 80% of the time that this unit is on, it's producing chlorine. If you need more chlorine, you're going to turn it up. If you need less chlorine, you're going to turn it down. Now, you're only going to know that each week when you test the chemicals. On average, this is what we run all our pools at, is 80 to 85% of an 8-hour run schedule. All right. Now, whether you're turning this up or down, it is going to take 3 to 5 days to that actually show up in the pool. You can't turn it up and all of a sudden get chlorine, and you can't turn it down and all of a sudden lose your chlorine. Now, the second number you see is 3,500 parts per million. That is the amount of salt in the pool, and we measure it by parts per million. This unit will produce chlorine as low as 2,000, as high as 7,000, but ideally you want to be exactly at 3,500. So what's that mean? You're not going to add another bag of salt until this gets down to about 2,900. 2,900, 3,000, because you're getting about 500 parts per million per bag of salt. So you're not going to add another bag until that gets down to about 3,000 to put you right at 3,500. All right, so there's the chlorinator. Now, the pool equipment itself. You got your pump and your filter. All the plumbing going into your pump is your suction side, and they have it labeled like we spoke before. Your main drain, which is your bottom, your skimmer, which is your top, your cleaner, which is the sidewall suction. These valves, wherever off is pointed, is where you're cutting off the pipe. So right now your cleaner is off. Your skimmer is wide open. Your main drain is wide open. If for some reason when you're vacuuming you wanted to close your main drain, you're simply going to turn it this way. Now it's off. Okay? All right, so now we're coming into the pump. Out of the pump, if you ever need to drain water due to excess rain, you're simply going to open this valve with the pump on. Water's going to come gushing out. Highly recommend buying a blue waste hose to get it to the road, because not only do you have chlorine acid, you've got salt in the water. Salt is going to kill this grass even quicker than the chlorine and acid. So get it to the road. All right, so now we're going through the filter, out of the filter, through our chlorinator, through our chlorinator's flow sensor, back into the pool. All right, so there's your suction side, there's your return side. Now, let's say we want to clean the pump basket or the filter. The first thing you need to do is come over here and turn it off by hitting the stop resume button. All right, so there it's off. Now the pump basket comes off counterclockwise and it tells us open that way, close that way. So we're just going to give it a good tap. Now notice there is an O-ring in the pump basket lid. You're going to lube that as necessary, replace as necessary. On average, you're lubing it every 6 months, replacing it when it goes flat, maybe every 5 years. Now, this pump basket is actually in wrong. So this is how it goes there's a tooth and groove right here to line up. All right, so this is the inlet from the pool. Here's the tooth and groove. We're just going to tap that out, clean this as necessary. Doesn't need to be cleaned every day, not even once a week, just as necessary. All right, we're gonna put that in the correct way now that we're tooth and groove and the hole. Now there is 3 pieces on the lid that we have to line up with the tank body. Perfect. Don't need to beat it with a mallet. You do not need to fill the pump back up with water. It is a self-priming pump. All right, same thing for the filter lid. You want to make sure you turn the pump off by hitting the stop resume button. Then from there, only one of these handles has a red handle, happens to be by me. You're going to pull that red handle while spinning counterclockwise. Oh, sorry, let me back up. First, you want to open the air relief. Then red handle, which is allowing the water to flow down the canister, allowing us to get it off. Now, you're going to clean this as necessary, or at least once a month. Your chlorinator does work off of flow, so if this gets too dirty, you're not going to produce chlorine. So you definitely want to clean this at least once a month. If you guys are taking care of the pool yourself, you cannot over clean it. The more you clean it, the longer it's going to last. All right? The more you clean it, the more efficient the whole pool runs. Now, when you do go to replace this, on average, once a year, this right here is your product number. That is the size cartridge that you need when you replace this. It's a CS100E. Go to any pool store and give them that number. They're going to get you this filter. You do not need to be brand specific. You can go with a generic cartridge as long as it's that size. Now, this cartridge is going to go back in either way. Upside down, there's no putting this cartridge in wrong. It almost even sits itself. You just want to straighten it out.
How do you clean it?
When you are cleaning it, you're going to take it out with the garden hose with a high pressure nozzle from top to bottom all the way around.
Oh, okay.
At least once a month. And then it sits itself pretty much perfect. All right. Now, when we are putting it back on, simply just spin it back on. Now, when we turn this back on, same button, stop, resume. we are leaving this air relief open. We want to wait until we get a steady stream of water before we close it. We want to purge all that air out of the system right here instead of blowing it through the equipment. And you'll hear it coming, it'll start whistling. Now, in the meantime, while we're waiting for that, actually, I'll hold on. And you can hear it coming.
Yeah.
We got a steady stream, we're simply going to close that. Now, earlier I mentioned serial numbers. When you're done with the video, I would highly recommend taking a picture of all the serial numbers, because as you see, they're just a simple sticker. In 2.5 years from now, that sticker's probably going to fall off, or it's going to get bled out by the sun. If you don't have a picture of that serial number when something breaks, you're going to say, tough shit, you got to buy a new piece of equipment. Excuse my language. Warranty is very cutthroat. So when you're done, when we're done, make sure you take a picture of this, and we'll go through all of the serial numbers. Email it to yourself or send it to the cloud, however you need to save those photos for 3 years. All right, now if you want to walk over here, I know how to use the pump from upside down. As I mentioned before, this pump will hold the time and the day for up to 3 days without power. It will not change itself for daylight savings time, which apparently we had daylight savings since I closed it. So it's an hour off, so it's perfect. All right, now, to change the time of the day, you're going to hit menu once. And it is in the configuration menu, Warden, but it is locked. The way you're unlocking it is you're simultaneously pressing left and right for 7 seconds. All right, now it's unlocked and it tells us everything what to do. Press right to enter, press plus or minus to change, or right to view the next item. Whatever's blinking is what they're attempting to change. We don't want to change the language, so we're going to hit right. There we go. We want to change the time of the day, so we're going to hit plus. We don't want to change the day. We want to change that 10 to a 9. Now, the AM and PM is not hourly sensitive, so if you do need to change the AM or PM, you physically need to change that. Okay? Now, that's the only important thing in this whole menu, so we're going to continue hitting right till the end of menu, press menu to exit. All right, so that's how you change the time of the day. Now, we recommend the pool runs at least 8 hours in the summer, 4 to 5 hours in the winter. All right? The reason why I have it programmed 9 to 5, it's easy to remember, and you want the pool running during the day. You don't want to run the pool from midnight to 8 a.m. because then the pool's sitting stagnant during the day. You don't necessarily have to have 9 to 5, it's just easy to remember, so that's why I program it. Now, let's say you do want to change the program, you're going to hit menu twice. And it's the same thing as the configuration menu. Press right to enter or plus or minus to change. All right. First menu, we're running the motor at 3450 from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. If we wanted to change that, we're simply going to hit plus. Don't want to change the name of the timer. Don't want to change the speed. We want to change the time. All right. Now you do have the capability of putting 8 different timers in this pump. You don't need 8 different timers. You only need one. 9 to 5. All right. So now we're at the end of the menu. Press menu to exit. Now, let's say it's 10 o'clock on a Friday night. You guys are having a party, and you want to run the pool. The easiest way to turn this pump on, with only having to come over here once, is you're going to hit quick clean. Each time you hit quick clean, it'll run for an additional hour, up to 6 hours. Once you pick how many hours you want it to run, you simply hit right. Now it's going to run those allotted hours, turn itself off, and jump back into whatever program is coming up. So you only got to do it once. All right? And then we're just going to hit stop, resume, putting it back into its normal program. And that is your orientation. You have any